AGNI PURANA, Part 1. Om Shakti Hrim, Om Namah Shivaya, Haum, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Hrim Shrim Lakshmi Bhyo Namah. In the forest that is known as Naimisharanya, Shaunaka and the other rishis, sages, were performing a yajna sacrifice dedicated to the Lord Vishnu. Sutta had also come there on his way to a pilgrimage. The sage told Sutta, "We have welcomed you. Now describe to us that which makes man all-knowing. Describe to us that which is the most sacred in the whole world." Sutta replied, "Vishnu is the essence of everything. I went to hermitage named Vadrika with Shuka, Paila and other sages, and met Vyasadeva there. Vyasadeva described to me that which he had learned from the great sage Vasishtha, Vasishtha having learned it from the god Agni himself. The Agni Purana is sacred because it tells us about the essence of the Brahman, the absolute divine essence. I learned all this from Vyasadeva, and I will now tell you all that I have learned. Do you know what an avatara is? An avatara is an incarnation and means that a god adopts a human form to be born on earth. Why do you gods do this? The purpose is to destroy evil on earth and establish righteousness. Vishnu is regarded as the preserver of the universe, and it is therefore Vishnu incarnation that one encounters most often. Vishnu has already had 9 such incarnations, and the 10th and the final incarnation is in the future. These 10 incarnations of Vishnu are as follows: Matsya avatara of fish incarnation, Kurma avatara or total incarnation, Varaha avatara or bow incarnation, Narasimha avatara, an incarnation in the form of being who was half man and half lion, Vamana Parusharama or dwarf incarnation, Parusharama, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Kalki. This is the incarnation that is yet to come. The AGNI PURANA now describes these 10 incarnations. The fish, Matsya avatara Vishnu. Agni told Vasishtha the story of the fish incarnation. Many years ago the whole world was destroyed. The destruction in fact extended to all the 3 lokas of Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka and Svargaloka. Bhuloka is the earth, Svargaloka is the heaven, and Bhuvarloka is the region between the earth and heaven. All 3 worlds were flooded with the water. Vaivasvata Manu was the son of the sun god. He had spent 10,000 years in prayer and tapasya meditation in the hermitage Vadrika. This hermitage was on the banks of the river Kritamala. Once Manu came to the river to perform his ablution. He immersed his hands in the water to get some water for his ablution. When he raised them, he found that there was a small fish swimming in the water in the cup of his hands. Manu was about to throw the fish back into the water when the fish said, "Don't throw me back. I am scared of alligator and crocodiles and a big fish. Save me." Manu found an earthen pot in which he could keep the fish, but soon the fish became too big for the pot, and Manu had to find a larger vessel in which the fish might be kept. But the fish became too big for this vessel as well, and Manu had to transfer the fish to a lake. But the fish grew and became too large for the lake. So Manu transferred the fish to the ocean. In the ocean the fish grew until it became gigantic. By now Manu's wonder knew no bounds. He said, "Who are you? You must be the Lord Vishnu. I bow down before you. Tell me, why are you tantalizing me in the form of a fish?" The fish replied, "I have come to punish the evil and protect the good. 7 days from now the ocean will flood the entire world and all beings will be destroyed. But since you have saved me, I will save you. When the boat is flooded, a boat will arrive here. Take the Saptarishes, 7 sages with you, and spend the terrible night that will come on that boat. Don't forget to take the seeds of the food grains with you. I will row you, and you will then fasten the boat to my horn with a huge snake. Saying this, the fish disappeared. Everything happened as the fish had promised it would. The ocean became turbulent, and Manu climbed into the boat. He tied the boat to the huge horn that the fish had. He prayed to the fish related the Matsya Purana to him. Eventually, when the water receded, the boat was anchored to the topmost peak of the Himalayas. 8 living beings were created once again. And another demon named Hayagriva had stolen the sacred text of the Vedas and the knowledge of the Brahman. In his form of fish, Vishnu also killed Hayagriva and recovered the Vedas. Total Kurma avatara Vishnu. Many years ago there was a war between the Devas, gods, and the deities, demons, and the gods lost this war. They prayed to Vishnu to rescue them from the oppression of the demons. Vishnu told Brahma and the other gods that they should have a temporary truce with the demons. The two sides should get together to churn the ocean. Vishnu would ensure that the Devas benefited more from this churning of the ocean than the deities did. The truce was agreed upon, and the two sides got ready to churn the ocean. The mountain Mandara was used as a churning rod, and the great snake Vasuki as a rope for churning. The Devas grasped Vasuki's tail, and the deities grasped Vasuki's head. But as the churning began, the mountain Mandara, which had no base, started to get a message in the ocean. What was to be done? Lord Vishnu came to the rescue. He adopted the form of a turtle, and the pig was balanced on the turtle's back. As the churning continued, terrible poison named Kavakuta emerged from the depths of the ocean and was swallowed by Shiva. Shiva's throat became blue from this poison, and he is therefore known as Nilakantha, blue of throat. The goddess Varuni, the goddess of wine, came out next. The gods readily accepted her, and thus they came to be known as Suras. But the demons rejected Varuni and were therefore known as Asuras. She was followed by the Parijata tree, a beautiful tree that came to occupy the pride of place in Indra's garden. Angel named Kaustubha emerged and was accepted by Vishnu as his adornment. 3 wonderful animals came out next: the cow Kapila, the horse Uchashrava, and the elephant Airavata. They were followed by the Apsaras, beautiful women who became the dancer of heaven. They were known as Apsaras because they emerged from up water. The goddess Lakshmi or Shri came out next and was united with Vishnu. Finally, Dhanvantari emerged with a pot of Amrita, the life-giving drink, in his hand. Dhanvantari was the originator of medicine, Ayurveda. The deities led by Jamha gave half of the Amrita to the Devas and departed with the remaining half. But Vishnu quickly adopted the form of a beautiful woman. So beautiful was the woman that the demons were charmed. Pretty lady, they said, take the Amrita and serve it to us. Marry us. Vishnu accepted the Amrita, but he had no intention of giving it to the demons. He served it to the gods instead. There was only one demon who was somewhat clever. His name was Rahu. He adopted the form of Chandra, the moon god, and succeeded in drinking some of the Amrita. The sun god and the moon god noticed what was happening and reported it to Vishnu. Vishnu's Rahan cut off Rahu's head with a sword. But Rahu had drunk the Amrita, so he could not die. He prayed to Vishnu, and Vishnu granted him a boon. The boon was that occasionally Rahu would be permitted to swallow up the sun and the moon. since these were the gods who had complained about him. You can see this happened at the time of solar and the lunar eclipse. People who give alms during such eclipse are blessed. The gods obtained the Amrita and the demons did not. Thus the gods became more powerful than the demons. They defeated the demons and regained heaven. The bow, Varaha avatara Vishnu. Vishnu's next incarnation was in the form of a bow. The sage Kashyapa and his wife Diti had a son named Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha became the king of the Asuras. Hiranyaksha's meditation pleased Brahma, and Brahma granted him the boon that he would be invincible in battle. Thus armed, Hiranyaksha went out to fight with the devas, with the gods, Suras. He comprehensively defeated the gods and conquered heaven. He also defeated Varuna, the god of the ocean. Thus Hiranyaksha became the king of the heaven, the earth and the underworld. But the Asura was not particularly fond of the earth. He himself had begun to live in Varuna's palace under the ocean. So he hurled the earth into the depths of the ocean. The gods went to Vishnu and prayed that something might be done about Hiranyaksha. They wished to be restored to heaven, and they wished that earth might be brought back from the depths of the ocean. In response to this prayers, Vishnu adopted the form of a bow and entered the ocean. Who should he meet there but Hiranyaksha himself? Hiranyaksha, of course, did not know that the bow was known other than Vishnu. He thought that it was not ordinary bow and attacked it. The two fought for many years, but finally Hiranyaksha was gored to death by the bow's stakes. The bow raised the earth up once again with its task. Vishnu thus saved the gods and the principle of righteousness or dharma. Hiranyaksha had a brother named Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was furious to learn that his brother had been killed, and he resolved to kill Vishnu. But this could not be done unless he himself became powerful and invincible. Hiranyakashipu therefore began to pray to Brahma through difficult meditation. Brahma was pleased at this prayers and offered to grant a boon. "I want to be invincible," said Hiranyakashipu. "Please grant me the boon that I may not be killed by night or day, that I might not be killed by man or beast, and that I may not be killed in the sky, the water or the earth." Brahma granted the desired boon, and Hiranyakashipu was happy. He thought that he had taken care of all possible eventualities, and since he had become so powerful, he conquered all the three worlds and kicked the gods out of heaven. Hiranyakashipu had a son named Prahlada. You no doubt remember that Hiranyakashipu had resolved to kill Vishnu. But strangely enough, Prahlada became devoted to Vishnu. Hiranyakashipu tried to pursue his son. That it did not work. He tried to kill his son. That too did not work, since each time Vishnu intervened to save Prahlada. Meanwhile, the gods had been driven off from heaven. They had also been deprived of their shares in yajnas by Hiranyakashipu. These shares not went only to the Asura king. In desperation, they went and prayed to Vishnu, and Vishnu promised them that he would find a solution. One day Hiranyakashipu called Prahlada to him. "How is it that you escape it each time I try to kill you?" he asked. "Because Vishnu saved me," replied Prahlada. "Vishnu is everywhere." "What do you mean everywhere?" retorted Hiranyakashipu. He pointed to a crystal pillar inside the palace and asked, "Is Vishnu inside this pillar as well?" "Yes," replied Prahlada. "Very well then, I am going to kick the pillar," said Hiranyakashipu. When Hiranyakashipu kicked the pillar, it broke in two, and from inside the pillar Vishnu emerged in his form of half man and half lion. He caught hold of Hiranyakashipu and placed the demon across his thighs, and with the claws he tore apart the demon's chest and so killed him. Brahma's boon had been that Hiranyakashipu would not be killed by man or beast. But then Narasimha was neither man nor beast, it was half man and half beast. The boon had said that the Asura would not be killed in the sky, the water or the earth, but the Hiranyakashipu was killed on Vishnu's thighs, which were not the sky, the water or the earth. And finally, the boon had promised that Hiranyakashipu would not be killed by night or day. Since the incident took place in the evening, it was not night or day. After Hiranyakashipu died, the gods were restored to their rightful place. Vishnu made Prahlada the king of the Asuras. The dwarf Vamana Avatara Vishnu. Prahlada's grandson was Vali, and Vali became very powerful. When he was the king of the Asuras, there was a war between the devas and the Asuras. The gods were defeated and were driven off from Svarga, Indra paradise. As always, the gods fled to Vishnu and began to pray to him to save them. Vishnu assured the gods that he would do something about Vali. Accordingly, Vishnu was born as the son of Aditi and Kashyapa. The son was a dwarf. King Vali had arranged for a huge sacrifice and had announced that on the occasion of the sacrifice he would not refuse anyone a boon. The dwarf arrived at the sacrifice and began to recite the Vedas. Vali was so pleased at this that he offered the dwarf a boon. Vali's guru teacher was Shukracharya, and Shukracharya thought that there was something fishy about the way the dwarf had arrived. So he tried to restrain Vali. "No," said Vali, "I have offered a boon and I shall stick to my word. What boon do you desire? I will give whatever you want." Before a boon was actually granted, a small rite had to be performed with holy water. Shukracharya was still trying to do his best to prevent the boon from being given. So he entered the vessel in which the holy water was kept to seal the mouth of the vessel and prevent the water from being taken out. To get at the holy water, the vessel was pierced with a straw. The straw also pierced one of the Shukracharya's eyes. Ever since that day, the preceptor of the demons has been one-eyed. "Give me as much of land as may be covered in 3 of my steps," says the dwarf. "I need this as a dakshina fee for my guru." Bali agreed. But the dwarf adopted a gigantic form. With one step he covered Bhurloka, with another step he covered Bhuvarloka, and with the last step he covered Svargaloka. The 3 worlds were thus lost to Bali, and Vishnu returned them to Indra. Bali had no option but to go down to the underworld Patala. But so pleased was Vishnu at Bali's generosity that he granted the Asura the boon that he would bear the title of Indra in the future. The Kshatriyas were the second of the 4 classes. It was their job to wear arms and protect the world and rule. The Brahmanas were the first of the 4 classes. It was their job to pray, study the sacred text, and perform religious rites. But the Kshatriyas became very insolent and began to oppress the world and the Brahmanas. Vishnu was there born as the son of the sage Jamadagni and his wife Renuka. Since this was the line of the sage Phrigu, Parusharama was also called Bhargava. Parusharama's mission was to protect the Brahmanas and teach a lesson to the Kshatriyas. There was a king named Kartavirya, who has received all sorts of boons from the sage Dattatreya. Thanks to these boons, Kartavirya had 1,000 arms and conquered and ruled over the entire world. One day Kartavirya went on a hunt to the forest. He was very tired after the hunt and was invited by the sage Jamadagni to rest at the sage hermitage. Jamadagni had a Kamakkhya cow. This means that cow produced whatever its owner desired. Jamadagni used the Kamakhyanu to treat Kartavirya and all his soldiers to a sumptuous feast. Kartavirya was so enamored of the Kamakhyanu that he asked the sage to give it to him. But Jamadagni refused. Kartavirya then abducted the cow by force, and a war started between Kartavirya and Parusharama. In this war, Parusharama cut off Kartavirya's head with his axe Parashu and brought the Kamakhyanu back to the hermitage. After some time, Parusharama was away when Kartavirya's sons arrived at the ashrama and killed Jamadagni. On the death of his father, Parusharama's anger was aroused. He killed all the kshatriyas in the world 21 times. On the plains of Kurukshetra, he built 5 wells which were filled with the blood of kshatriyas. Eventually, Parusharama handed over the world to Kashyapa and went and lived on Mount Mahendra. Brahma came out of Vishnu's navel. Brahma's son was Marichi. Marichi's son Kashyapa. Kashyapa's son Surya, Surya's son Vaivasvata Manu, Manu's son Ikshvaku, Ikshvaku's son Kakutha, Kakutha's son Rakhu, Rakhu's son Aja, Aja's son Dasharatha, Dasharatha's sons were Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Since Rama was descended from Kakutha and Rakhu, he was also called Kakutha and Radhava. Since his father's name was Dasharatha, he was also called Dasharathi. Rama's story belongs to the solar line, Surya Vamsha, since one of his ancestors was Surya. Vishnu himself wished to destroy Ravana and the other Rakshasas demons. He therefore divided himself into 4 parts and was born as Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Rama was Kaushalya's son. Bharata was Kaikeya's son. Lakshmana and Shatrughna were the sons of Sumitra. The sage Vishwamitra came to Dasharatha and pleaded for Rama's help in defeating the Rakshasas who were disturbing his yajnas. Rama killed these demons, and Vishwamitra was so pleased that he taught Rama the use of all divine weapons. Rama broke a bow of Shiva's that had been in the possession of the king of Mithila, Janaka. This was the task that had been appointed for marrying Sita, Janaka's daughter. Rama married Sita, Lakshmana married Urmila, Bharata married Mandavi, and Shatrughna married Shrutakirti. On the way back to Ayodhya, Rama also beat Parusharama in a duel. Dasharatha resolved that Rama should be made Yuvraja, that is a heir apparent to the kingdom. But Kaikeyi had a servant named Manthara, who plotted otherwise. When he was young, Rama had a pullet at Manthara's feet, and ever since that day, Manthara had not been kindly disposed towards Rama. She reminded Kaikeyi of the 2 boons that had been promised to her by King Dasharatha. Years ago, the gods had been fighting with the demon Shambhara and had asked Dasharatha for his help. In fighting with Shambhara, Dasharatha had been injured. He had been nursed back to health by Kaikeyi. Dasharatha had promised 2 boons to Kaikeyi as a reward, and Manthara's suggestion was that Kaikeyi should not ask for these 2 boons. But the first boon, Rama, would be banished to the forest for 14 years, and by the second boon, Bharata would become Yuvaraja. Kaikeyi listened to Manthara. At Manthara's instance, she asked for these 2 boons. Dasharatha was very angry, but Rama insisted that he would indeed go to the forest for 14 years. Rama, Lakshmana and Sita first went to the banks of the river Tamasa. From there they went to the kingdom of Guha, the king of the hunters, Nishadas. They crossed the rivers Jahnavi and arrived in Prayaga, where the sage Bharadwaja had his hermitage. Their final destination was the mountain range of Chitrakuta, on the banks of the river Mandakini. Meanwhile, back home in Ayodhya, King Dasharatha, who could not bear to be parted from Rama, died. Bharata and Shatrughna had gone on a visit to their uncle's house and were recalled. But Bharata refused to be king. He went to the forest to try and pursued Rama to return. But Rama insisted he would not return before the 14 years were over. So Bharata brought back Rama's sandals. He placed the sandals on the throne as a token of Rama's kingship. And he began to rule the kingdom in Rama's name from Nandigrama rather than from Ayodhya. Rama, Lakshmana and Sita then went to the forest that is known as Dandaka forest, Dandaka Karanya. This forest was on the banks of the river Godavari, and there was a beautiful grove inside the forest known as Panchavati. They built a hut there and resolved to live there. There was a Rakshasa woman named Shurpanakha. She happened to come to the place where Rama, Lakshmana and Sita had built their hut. Shurpanakha liked Rama so much that she wanted to marry Rama and eat up Lakshmana and Sita. But Lakshmana cut off Shurpanakha's nose and ears with his sword. Shurpanakha fled to her brother Khara and demanded revenge. Khara and 14,000 other demons, Rakshasas, attacked Rama, but they were all killed by Rama. Shurpanakha then went to her other brother Ravana, the king of Lanka. Ravana asked the Rakshasa Maricha to adopt the form of a golden deer and roam around in front of Rama's hut. Sita was so charmed by the deer that she asked Rama to capture it for her. Rama was long in returning and Lakshmana went to look for him. Taking advantage of Rama and Lakshmana's absence, Ravana kidnapped Sita. Jata, the king of the birds, did try to stop Ravana, but he met his death at Ravana's hands. Rama and Lakshmana were greatly distressed to find Sita missing, and they looked for her everywhere. Rama made friends with the monkey Sugriva. He killed Sugriva's brother Bali and made Sugriva the king of the monkeys. The monkeys were sent off in all the four directions to look for Sita. The monkeys who had gone towards the south learned that Sita was in Lanka, across the ocean. One of these monkeys was Hanumana. Hanumana leapt over the ocean and arrived in Lanka. He discovered the lonesome Sita in a grove of Ashoka trees, the Ashokavana. Hanumana introduced himself and assured Sita that he would soon be back with Rama. Hanumana caused some general havoc in Lanka and was captured by Meghnada or Indrajit, Ravana's son. Ravana ordered that Hanumana's tail should be set on a fire. But Hanumana used his burning tail to set fire to all the houses of Lanka. He then returned to Rama with the news that Sita had been found. Rama, Lakshmana, and an army of monkeys arrived at the shores of the ocean. There they built a bridge over the ocean so they could cross over into Lanka. There was a terrible war in which Rama killed the giant Kumbhakarna, Ravana's brother. Lakshmana killed Indrajit. Rama killed Ravana with a powerful divine weapon, the Brahmastra. The 14 years were by now over and Rama, Lakshmana and Sita returned to Ayodhya. The Rama was crowned king and he treated his subjects as his own sons. He punishes the wicked and followed the path of Dharma. During Rama's rule there was no shortage of food grains anywhere and the people were righteous. No one died an untimely death. On Rama's instruction, Shatrughna killed the Asura Ravana and built the city of Mathura in the place where Ravana's kingdom had been. Bharata was sent by Rama to kill a wicked Gandharva, a singer of heaven named Shaivusha, who lived on the banks of the river Indus with his sons. Bharata killed them and built two cities there, Takshashiva and Pushkaravati. In Takshashiva, Bharata established his son Taksha as a king, and in Pushkaravati he made his son Pushkara as a king. Rama and Sita had two sons named Kusha and Lava. Rama ruled for 11,000 years before he died. This is the story of the Ramayana as recounted in the AGNI PURANA. It was written by the sage Valmiki. After he had heard the story from the sage Narada. Rama was the seventh avatar of Vishnu. Krishna was the eighth. As you have already been told, Brahma emerged from Vishnu navel. Brahma's son was Atri, Atri's son Soma, Soma's son Pururava, Pururava's son Ayu, Ayu's son Nahusha, and Nahusha's son Yayati. Yayati had two wives, Devayani and Sharmisha. Devayani had two sons, Yadu and Turvusu, and Sharmisha had three sons, Thrukya, Anu and Puru. The descendants of Yadu were known as the Yadavas. Vasudeva was a Yadava. His wife was a Devaki. Vishnu was born as a son of Vasudeva, and Devaki in order to remove the wicked from the world. The seventh son of Vasudeva and Devaki was Baladeva, and the eighth son was Krishna himself. Krishna was born in the month of Bhadra in the cheek of the night. Scared that the wicked Kamsa might kill the newly born child, Vasudeva left him with Yashoda, the wife of Nanda. Nanda was the king of the cowheads, and he brought up Baladeva and Krishna. Kamsa sent a Rakshasa woman named Putana to kill Krishna, but Krishna killed her instead. In Vrindavana, Krishna subdued the terrible snake known as Kaliya. He killed several other Rakshasas named Arishta, Vrishabha, Keshit, Henuka, and Gardhabha, and made the country safe from the attacks of these demons. He also stopped the worship of Indra. This led to fight between Indra and Krishna. Indra tried to destroy the inhabitants of Gokula by sending down torrents of rain, but Krishna had aloft the mountain Govardhana and saved the inhabitants of Gokula. Kamsa's capital was in Mathura. Baladeva and Krishna went there. Kamsa let loose a mad elephant named Kuvalapida on a Krishna, but Krishna killed Kuvalapida. Baladeva and Krishna also killed two strong wrestlers, Chanura and Mushtika, whom Kamsa had instructed to kill Baladeva and Krishna. Finally, Krishna killed Kamsa and made Ugrasena the king. Kamsa was Jarasandha's son-in-law, and Jarasandha became furious when he learned of Kamsa's death. He attacked the Yadavas and laid siege to the city of Mathura. After a prolonged war, Krishna managed to defeat Jarasandha. Krishna also defeated another evil king named Pundarika. On Krishna's instruction, the Yadavas built the beautiful city of Dwaraka or Dwarapavati. The Yadavas began to live in Dwaraka. There was an asura named Naraka who was killed by Krishna. Naraka had imprisoned 16,000 dead daughters of the Devas, Gandharvas and Yakshas, gods of heaven's treasury. These women were freed by Krishna, and Krishna married all of them. Amongst Krishna's other exploits were defeated the Daitya Panchajnana, killing Kalayavana, seizing the Parajata tree from Indra and bringing back to life the sage Sandipani, dead son. Krishna had several sons. Shamba was born of Krishna's wife, Jambavati, and Pradyumna was born of Krishna's wife, Rukmini. As soon as Pradyumna was born, he was abducted by the Asura Shambhara. Shambhara threw the baby into the sea, but the fish swallowed the baby. A fisherman caught the fish and brought it to Shambhara's house. When the fish's stomach was cut open, the baby came out. There was a woman named Mayavati who lived in Shambhara's house, and Shambhara handed over baby Pradyumna to Mayavati so that he might be brought up well. When he grew up, Pradyumna killed Shambhara and married Mayavati. They returned to Dwaraka and Krishna was very happy to see his lost son. Pradyumna and Mayavati had a son named Aniruddha. Aniruddha secretly married Usha, the daughter of King Vana, Vana himself being the son of Bali. Vana's capital was in a city named Shonitaputra. Vana had pleased Shiva through had hard and difficult tapasya, so that sometimes he was called the son of Shiva. Vana loved to fight and he had wanted a boon from Shiva that he might get the chance to fight with someone who was his equal in a battle. A flag with a peacock on it used to fly from the ramparts of Vana's palace. Shiva told him that the day this flag fell down, Vana's desire for battle with an equal vote will be satisfied. With the help of a friend of Usha's, Aniruddha and Usha used to meet secretly in Vana's palace. Vana's guards informed him about this and there was a fierce battle between Vana and Aniruddha. At the same time, the flag with the peacock on it fell down. Krishna got to know from Narada about the fight between Vana and Aniruddha and he. Baladeva and Pradyumna arrived in Vana's capital. Shiva came to find on Vana's side, accompanied by Nandi and Skanda or Kartikeya. But after a duel that lasted for a long time, Krishna triumphed over his enemies. Krishna's arrows also cut off the 1,000 thumbs that Vana had. But at Shiva's request, Krishna spared Vana's life and gave him 2 arms with which to make do. All the stories about Krishna are related in detail in the Harivamsha. The AGNI PURANA merely gives a brief summary of the Harivamsha, but stories about Krishna, the 8th avatara of Vishnu, also crop up in the Mahabharata. The AGNI PURANA therefore next summarizes the Mahabharata. The Pandavas were merely a pretext. Krishna uses the Pandavas to rid the world of evil men. You have already learned that one of Yayati's sons was Puru. In Puru's line were born Bharata and Kuru. One of Kuru's descendants was the king Shantanu. Shantanu married Ganga and Bhishma was born from his marriage. But Shantanu also married Satyavati and had 2 more sons, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. Bhishma never married. Chitrangada died young. When Vichitravirya grew up, Bhishma defeated the king of Kashi and brought 2 of the king's daughters, Ambika and Ambalika, as brides for Vichitravirya. Vichitravirya was also quite young when he died of tuberculosis. Since Vichitravirya had left no children, Vyasadeva was brought to Hastinapura. Vyasadeva and Ambika had a son named Dhritarashtra, and Vyasadeva and Ambalika had a son named Pandu. Dhritarashtra married Ganhari, and they had 100 sons, of whom the most important was Duryodhana. Pandu had 2 wives, Kunti and Madri. Kunti's sons were Yudhishthira, Bhima and Arjuna, and Madri's sons were Nakula and Sahadeva. But Yudhishthira was really the son of the god Dharma, and not Pandu's son. Similarly, Bhima was the son of the god Pavana, Arjuna the son of Indra and Nakula, and Sahadeva, the sons of the 2 Ashwinis. Early Kunti had a son named Karna from the sun god. This was before she had got married to Pandu. Karna became a friend of Duryodhana's because of a curse imposed on him by a sage. Pandu died in the forest. Duryodhana tried his best to kill the Pandavas. He set fire to a house of flag in which Kunti and the 5 Pandavas were staying. But the Pandavas were saved and fled to a city named Ekachakra. There they lived disguised as Brahmanas. In Ekachakra they destroyed a Rakshasa named Vaka. They then won the hand of the daughter of the king of Panchala. Her name was Draupadi, and all 5 Pandava brothers married her. When Duryodhana learned that the Pandavas were alive, he handed over half the kingdom to them. Meanwhile, the forest Khandava had to be burned, and Krishna and Arjuna did this together. Krishna had befriended Arjuna. When Arjuna successfully defeated the god Agni at the burning of the Khandava forest, Agni gave him several divine weapons. Arjuna had also obtained divine weapons from his guru Dronacharya. On the Pandava side, Yudhishthira had become king. The Pandavas organized a Rajasura Yajna, royal sacrifice, in which they conquered several kingdoms and accumulated a lot of wealth. This made Duryodhana envious. He arranged a game, a dice, Ashram, between Yudhishthira and Duryodhana's uncle Shakuni. Shakuni did not play fairly, and Yudhishthira lost the game. As a penalty for the loss, the Pandavas were to spend 12 years in the forest and 1 additional year without being detected. Draupadi went with them to the forest, as did the Pandavas' priest Dhumya. After the 12 years were over, the Pandavas came to the kingdom of King Virata, where they proposed to spend the additional year that had to be spent in disguise. Yudhishthira pretended to be a Brahmana, Bhima a cook, Arjuna a dancer, Nakula a Sahadeva stable hands. Draupadi became the queen's maid. The queen's brother Kichaka tried to molest Draupadi, but was killed by Bhima. When the year was over, the Kauravas attacked King Virata to rob him of his cattle. But Arjuna defeated all the Kauravas and saved Virata's cattle. After this success, the identity of the Pandavas could not longer be kept a secret. But thankfully, the 1 year during which identities had to be kept a secret was over. King Virata's daughter Uttara was married to Abhimanyu, Arjuna's son. Abhimanyu's mother was Subhadra, whom Arjuna had married. Subhadra also happened to be Krishna's sister. The Pandavas now demanded their rightful share of kingdom, but Duryodhana refused. A war was imminent. A huge battalion of soldiers was known as an Akshauhini. Duryodhana collected 11 Akshauhinis for the war, and Yudhishthira collected 7. Krishna was sent as a messenger to Duryodhana to try and preserve the peace. Krishna told Duryodhana that the Pandavas would be satisfied with a mere 5 villages. Duryodhana refused to give them even this without a fight. So the armies gathered for a war on the plains of Kurukshetra. Noticing that elders and relatives like Bhishma and Dronacharya were fighting on the sides of Kauravas, Arjuna was reluctant to fight. But Krishna gave Arjuna's lessons, which have come down to us as a Gita, Bhagavad Gita. He taught that there was no reason for sorrow if Bhishma or Dronacharya died. That was only a death for their physical bodies. The true identity of a person was his Atman, soul, which never died, but passed from one body to another. True bliss was obtained when the Atman united with the Brahman, or Param Atman, Supreme Soul. This was always the goal of a yogi. That is a person who sought union with the God. Thus instructed by Krishna, Arjuna started to find. With the help of Shikhandi, he defeated Bhishma. This happened on the 10th day of the fighting. Bhishma did not, however, die. He had earlier received the boon that he would only die when he actually wished to do so. For many days, he lay there in the battlefield on a bed of arrows. After Bhishma's defeat, Dronacharya became the general of the Kauravas. Drishtadyumna was the general of Pandava side. Dronacharya killed Virata, Drupada and several other kings and soldiers all on the Pandava side. Drishtadyumna also killed many Kaurava soldiers. On the 15th day of the fighting, a rumor gained currency that Ashwadhama, Dronacharya's son, had been killed. Dronacharya abandoned his weapons on hearing this bad news, and Drishtadyumna faced no problems in killing him. Karna now became the Kaurava general and lasted for 2.5 days before he was killed by Arjuna. Shalya was the last Kaurava general. He fought for only half a day and was killed by Yudhishthira. Bhishma and Duryodhana fought the last duel of the war with the masses. Bhima broke Duryodhana's sides and killed him. Ashwadhama had been fuming ever since his father Dronacharya had been killed by unfair means. In the dead of the night, he entered the Pandava camp where he killed Drishtadyumna and the 5 sons of Draupadi. Draupadi was disconsolate and demanded revenge. Arjuna and Ashwadhama let loose divine weapons on each other. Since this might destroy the world, they were asked to withdraw these weapons. Arjuna could withdraw his weapon, but Ashwadhama could not. Ashwadhama's weapon killed the baby that was in Uttara's womb, but when the dead baby was born, Krishna brought it back to life. This baby was Parikshita. Many kings and soldiers died in the course of the Kurukshetra war. The only one left alive were Kritavarma, Kripacharya and Ashwadhama on the Kaurava side, and Satyaki, Krishna and the 5 Pandavas on the Pandava side. After the war was over, Bhishma taught Yudhishthira the duties of a king. It was only after this that he died. As a king, Yudhishthira performed many yajnas and gave a lot of alms to Brahmanas. When Yudhishthira learned that the Yadavas had been destroyed, he no longer wished to rule. He handed over the kingdom to Parikshita and the Pandavas left on a pilgrimage, in the course of which they died. It was Krishna who had used the Pandavas as a tool to rid the world of evil kings and establish the good ones. Realizing that the Yadavas were also evil, Krishna also ensured that the Yadavas would be destroyed. He then gave up his life at the palace of pilgrimage that is known as Prabhasa. After Krishna died, the city of Dwaraka was swallowed up by the sea. This was the story of 8th avatara of Vishnu. The 9th avatar of Vishnu was Buddha, and the 10th will be Kalki. Many years ago there was a war between the Devas and the Asuras, in which the demons managed to defeat the gods. The gods went running to Vishnu for protection, and Vishnu told them that Mayamoha would be born as Buddha, the son of Shuddhodana. Such were the illusions that Buddha created that the Asuras left the path indicated by the Vedas and became Buddhist. These dastardly creatures performed ceremonies that were a sure ticket to Naraka. Towards the end of the Kali era, all people will be dastardly. They will oppose the Vedas, become robbers, and will be concerned only with wealth. The disbelievers will then become kings, and the kings will also be cannibals. Much later, Kalki will be born on earth as the son of Vishnu Yaksha. He will take up arms to destroy these disbelievers. Kalki priest will be the sage Yajnavalkya. The norms of the 4 classes, Varna, and the 4 stages of life, Ashrama, will be established yet again. People will honor the sacred text and become righteous. It will then be time for the dawn of a new Satya Yuga, a fresh period of righteousness. In every cycle Kalpa and every era Manvantara, Vishnu is thus born in various forms. It is a sacred duty to listen to the stories of the 10 avatars. the listener attains his desires and goes to heaven. Agni next told Vasishka the history of creation. Vishnu is the Lord of creation, preservation and destruction. Before creation it was only the Brahman that was everywhere. There was no day, night or sky. Vishnu first created the waters, and in the waters he sowed the seeds of Brahmanda, the great egg. From this seed there developed a golden egg which began to float on the waters. From the egg Brahma created himself. Since he created himself, Swayam Samhuta, Brahma is also known as Swayambhu. Having created himself, Brahma stayed inside the egg for an entire year, and at the end of the year he split the egg into two. One part of the egg formed the heaven, the other the earth, and in between the two parts of the egg Brahma created the sky. Brahma next established the earth on the waters and made the 10 directions. He created time, lightning, thunder, clouds, rainbows, words, and anger. To ensure that yajnas could be performed, text of Rigveda, the Yajurveda and the Samaveda emerged from his body. Holy people used the Vedas to perform ceremonies meant for the gods. From the powers of his mind, Brahma created 7 sons. Their names were Marichi, Atri, Angira, Puvastya, Puvaha, Kratu, and Vasishka. Prithu is recognized as the first king. Prithu was descended from Dhruva, and Prithu's father Vena was also a king. But Vena was an evil king. He was simply not interested in protecting his subject. The sages therefore killed Vena with a straw. And after Vena had died, they began to knead the dead body's right hand, and it was thus that Prithu emerged. He wore armor and carried bow and arrows when he was born. He ruled well as per the dictates of karma. He looked upon all his subjects and his own sons. From Prithu the earth came to be known as Prithvi. The Agni Purana next has several chapters on how to pray and how to build temples and idols, murti. The technique of praying to Vishnu, Shiva, Surya and the other gods and goddesses are described like puja, including the special mantras and incantations that must be used so as to please specific gods and goddesses. Prior to praise one must bathe, and there are prescribed forms for such bathing as well. A person who builds temples is blessed. Even if one merely thinks of building temples, the sins of 100 lives are forgiven. The ancestors of a builder of temples are rescued from hell. A builder of single temples goes to heaven, Svarga. A builder of 2 temples goes to Brahmaloka. A builder of 5 Shivaloka. A builder of 8 to Vishnuloka. And a builder of 16 temples is freed from the shackles of being born again and again. What is the point of earning money if one does not build temples? Money is also meant to be donated as alms to Brahmanas, but the punya or merit earned from building a temple is greater than the punya earned from donating alms. The merit earned by the builder of temples is the greatest for a golden temple, lesser for a stone temple, still lesser for a wooden temple, and least for an earthen temple. More punya is acquired from building an idol than from building a temple. Idols of gods and goddesses should always be set up so that they face the city. They should not face from the city. The east is the best for Indra's idol, the south for Chandis, the center for Brahmas. Vishnu idol can be set up anywhere at all. Different idols of Vishnu must have different forms. Consider, for example, idols or image of the 10 incarnations of Vishnu. The Matsya fish avatara must naturally look like a fish, and the Kurma turtle avatara must look like a turtle. But the Varaha bull avatara will have 4 arms like a man, and will hold a Gada mace, a Padma lotus flower, a Shankha conch shell, and a chakra bladed discus in these 4 arms. The Narasimha avatara should have 2 arms holding a chakra and a Gada, and should wear a garland. The Vamana dwarf avatara should hold an umbrella and a stick in his 2 hands. Parusharama will have 4 hands with a bow, arrows and a sword, and an axe in these hands. Rama's image can have either 2 arms or 4. If there are 4 arms, the 4 hands will hold a bow, arrows, a conch shell, and a chakra. Balarama's image may also have either 4 arms or 2. If there are 2 arms, the hands will hold a plough and a mace. If there are 4 arms, his hands will hold a plough, a conch shell, a club, and a chakra. Buddha's image should have a calm appearance. It should be seated on a lotus. The ears should be elongated. Kalki's image is that of a Brahmana seated on a horse and holding a bow and arrows, and a conch shell, a sword, and a chakra. Krishna's image may be either 2-armed or 4-armed. 3 of the 4 arms will hold a Gada, a chakra, and a Shankha. The 4th palm will be opening out in the act of granting a boon. On either side of a Krishna image, there will be image of Brahma and Shiva. Brahma has 4 faces and 4 arms, and the image should have a pronounced stomach, a beard, and a matted hair. Brahma rides a swan. On either side of a Brahma's image, there will be image of Saraswati and Savitri. Vishnu image has 8 arms. 7 of the arms hold a sword, mace, arrows, or bow or shield, a chakra, and a conch shell. The 8th palm is spread out as Vishnu is granting a boon. Vishnu should be shown riding on a Garuda. Garuda will also have 8 arms. To the right of Vishnu image there should be image of Lakshmi and Saraswati. Lakshmi holding a lotus and Saraswati holding a veena, a musical instrument. There has also got to be an image of Vishnu, exhibiting his universal form Vishvarupa. The Vishvarupa image has 4 heads and 20 arms. Chandi's image has 20 arms. The 10 arms of the right hold a spear, a sword, a Shakti, a small spear, a chakra, a pashanus, a shield, a drum, and any 2 other weapons. The 10th arm on the right should be in the act of granting a boon. The 10 arms on the left hold snakes, a rod, an axe, and ankusha. Usage for driving elephants: a bow, a bell, a flag, a mace, a mirror, and a club. In the front of Chandi's image there will be the image of the buffalo with its head cut off. The image of an asura will be shown emerging from the body of the buffalo. The demon's hair, eyes, and garland will be red in color. It will be shown to be vomiting blood, and it will hold weapons in its head. The demon's neck will be bound up in a noose, and a Chandi's lion will be attacking it. Chandi's right leg will be on the lion, and her left leg will be on the demon's back. Image of Chandi or Durga may sometimes also have 10, 16 or 18 arms. Shiva image linga may be made out of ash, wood, iron, jewels, gold, silver, copper, bronze or mercury. Om Shakti Hrim, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Sachita Brahma, Hari Om Tat Sat.